Da-da-da-da. And we are live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Positive Power Hour. I'm Dan McBee, your host, and here's my daughter, Nicole, my co host. Thank God she's on the show, otherwise, this thing would suck totally. And tonight we have my great grandson, Richard, who is returning from his incredible experience going to Cooperstown and having all kinds of experiences there. And we're gonna interview him a bit tonight and see what were the highlights of his trip, what he took away from it, what he learned he has to do more of, right? And just the whole overall experience of it, being in the first time in a different state. I know you mentioned was a whole great experience for you, right? There's mom, she's checking in. Hi mom, glad you joined us. Yeah, all right, so Richard, let's start with the very first question. What was if you had to pick one thing out of everything you experienced that week, what was the thing that stood out the most for you?
What stood out the most to me was how many teams were in the tournament first, because
And how many teams is it?
there's 86 teams.
86 teams. And that means there's like thousands of people there just in in the members and the coaches and everything, right? I mean, that had
Hmm.
to be a huge gathering.
It was.
Wow.
So
What?
let's start with the backstory. Let
Yeah.
Richard explain what he experienced. What was the whole thing that we're talking about right now?
Oh, yes.
So Cooperstown is a 1 week tournament where you're just facing teams from like Florida. There's teams that come also from like Las Vegas, a lot of different states, and they'll just compete in one tournament.
Wow.
Now, I've been asked since then, because I, of course, bragged that you were there. I've been
Nice,
asked,
girl.
is that the Little League World Series that you're going through, or what was the tournament, like what were the winners competing for?
So for Cooperstown, you're competing for like one big ring that each player gets, and if I'm not mistaken, the color's like gold.
Ooh. All right.
It's pretty cool.
I was very excited for you, and watching it was so exciting.
Hmm.
And how did you play? How do you feel that you played overall?
I feel like I played all right. There's things I could have worked on, things that I feel like I did better in, like
What would
hitting.
those
I feel
be?
like I was better. I feel like I was better than a couple tournaments that I had before.
And what could you do better?
I could have done better on catching a lot. I feel like I could have blocked a little bit more.
Is that because of technique, or is it that you have to learn a different way to stand, or
Um, I I feel like I just wasn't like sliding enough.
okay, all right,
Well,
because
and also to mention, he had food poisoning right before he started.
right, yep. And the best memory you had came right after that, right?
My
What
first game
happened
back from food poisoning, I ended up being 1 for 2 with the home run,
then?
which
Hey,
ended
look
up being
at that.
which was a 2-run game winning home run.
Oh,
Yeah, it
that's
was.
exciting. And so, how did your team do through this whole tournament? Where did you end up ranking?
Out of the 86 teams, we were the 13th team.
Wow,
Way
that's
to go.
quite an accomplishment,
Such
don't you
night.
think? Yes.
It it was better than I thought we would do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so, did you eat at very many restaurants, or just in the dormitory that you were in?
We we did go to a few.
Whoops, we lost your audio.
It wasn't as much restaurants, but it was mainly just the food that we were given.
Given there, what was your favorite restaurant you went to?
I do not remember the place it was called.
Was it the deli sandwiches place?
I did like that, yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
I got little updates. So
Did you?
yeah.
Some more filler?
They had a few days before the tournament to kind of check out the town and do some things, right?
Nice.
And then a few days after. So it wasn't all just, work. He was able to play a bit.
Now, just to add a little more background, Nicole, I was really impressed with the amount of involvement the family had to be involved in. Your mom, dad, your grandma, all your relatives, that they had to do so much fundraising to help raise enough money to get everybody out on this trip, right? And
Right.
everybody pitched in and worked to help make that happen. And it's so awesome to see that kind of teamwork, which is what it requires, right? And it kind of helps add to that experience of the importance of team, that none of us can do any of this all by ourselves, no matter what it is we're wanting to accomplish. We can do it much better, much easier, and actually succeed if we develop the team concept with people, right? So did you get to experience moments with the team that were stronger because of the trip and what you all went through, even, being in a dormitory together and everything? Did it create a better team experience for you?
Yes, since we were together so much, we had to learn basically to get along pretty well.
Right.
So we ended up being better teamwork, chemistry.
Right.
We will also, during like our free time, we will play like a little game. It's called wiffle ball, and it's just
Right.
like baseball.
Right. Nice. Well, it's interesting about team camaraderie, right? They talk often about, like in baseball, especially in the pros, that some owners think they can just go buy all the talent that they want and throw them all together and they'll win championships. And it doesn't work like that. Not in basketball, not in baseball, not in any sport, right? You have to have a nucleus of team members who have really developed a camaraderie and a like-mindedness with them, with the rest of the players. And then you add special parts that you need to go along with that, right? But you just can't throw a whole bunch of strangers together and expect them to meld right away. And that's the problem the Padres are having right now, I think, is that they haven't spent enough time as a team yet to really become, as efficient in the play as they probably will be as they go along, right? So you got to experience the difference in just meeting once or twice a week and practicing, as opposed to being with each other 24/7 and having to get through the little egos and the little things that happen in the course of a journey like this, and you learn how to pull together, right? So that's a good experience, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, it was.
Good for you. Good for you.
Now, we talked about fundraising. Were they able to gather enough funds to get the whole team there? Is that what I know the goal was, right?
We did end up doing it, yeah.
Nice. Good job.
Yeah, then that again requires everybody pitching in and making the dream come true, right?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And even people that weren't even going, that's great. That's great. I'm very envious of you for a trip like that. I'm also very proud of you that you got to do that. It's an experience you'll remember for the rest of your life, right?
Right.
And yes, and here Mellie's telling us that yes, we raised enough funds for all the kids and coaches. How about that?
Yes.
And then, of course, the families have to get their own monies together to get them out there, right? So yes, expenses, I'm sure. And that is again, the parents all pitching in too, kind of helps that support for you, that that they've really got your back when they work so hard to make something like that happen for you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And not everybody gets that kind of support. I think you know that, right?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, we had to pay to bring our own umpire. Oh my goodness. Well, we're learning a whole lot about how this whole thing plays out, aren't we?
Now I know we're focused on the positive, but
Yes.
I want to know about all the experiences. And so, what was maybe one of your least favorite experiences while you're there, besides the food poisoning?
Yeah. We don't really want to know too much about the food poisoning.
No.
Yeah.
I would say my least favorite was probably not hating on pitches I know I could have hit, or missing pitches I know I could have caught.
Right.
That was probably one of the worst.
Yeah. And
So
that's
just
one of the
beating
hardest
yourself
parts
up.
of the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The easy stuff was getting me.
Yeah, and that's something you got to practice every single game, right? Is having that short-term memory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you keep digging on it, you just dig a big hole, right?
Melinda says he's wearing our Empire shirt. That
Yeah.
he passed out to the
Can you
kids.
show us a little more of it? We see Cajun Joe. What does that mean?
That's basically his nickname.
Oh, that's his nickname. Oh,
That's
how
cool.
cool. And what does it say at the bottom there? I can't quite see it.
Cooperstown Empire.
Cooperstown. How nice.
Awesome.
He got those for all of you guys, huh?
Yep.
How special.
Yeah.
And what other souvenirs did you get to bring home? Was there anything else?
We also got a little bracelet.
Nice.
And we also got a pin that I don't know where it is right now.
Ah, and the hat you're wearing, is that something from the trip, or is that just one of your hats?
It's just one of my hats.
All right.
And I also know that you got your home run ball.
We do.
One of them. Yep.
One of them. How many you had? What, 2 home runs during your week?
I did hit 2.
Awesome. One was a game winner and the other was a home run, right?
Right.
Very good. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the experience?
The experience, I would say 9.5 because of the food poisoning, of course, since I didn't get to play 2 games.
Oh,
but if I did, it'll be a 10.
Awesome. Good for you. That is such a wonderful experience. As I mentioned to you before we started the show tonight, the experience is something you're going to carry with you the rest of your life, and it's such a wonderful building block for the success that you're headed towards, Richard. I couldn't be more proud of you. You're a fine young man.
Yes.
It shows the character that you are, the personality that you have. And my sense is no matter how much success you reach in your life, you're always going to stay humble because you're very well grounded. And I hope you always keep that. It's so important, right? And here's another message from your mom. The umpire brought beads for them, and they wore them whenever they hit a home run for a celebration photo. Oh, that's really nice. So I was glad
you gave that information, Melly, because I remember seeing the glasses and the beads and was wondering maybe that was just what the team did, but I'm glad to know the history on that.
So, Richard, this is called the Positive Power Hour show, right?
Right.
And what we try to do on all of our shows is to help remind people that they're much more than they think they are, right? That we all have that little spark of God in each one of us. He didn't leave anybody out, right? Everybody got it. And it's really up to us. It's our responsibility to shine that spark up, right? And to use that energy for positive, for making the world a better place, for making ourselves better people, and for helping those less fortunate raise up, right? And so you're a perfect example for us to have on the show tonight. And for those of you watching this recording, welcome. I'm sorry, I should have said in the very beginning, welcome to those of you that are here live and those of you that are watching on the recording. We want to have guests on that have had positive experiences and help us to hear what they achieved, what they've accomplished, what they got from it. And, just to remind each of us that even though the journey may be hard sometimes, right? You don't bat 5,000, right? You have, what's that thing I say about the fact that a 300 hitter means he struck out 70%. He failed 70% of the time, right? And so there's a lot more failing in baseball than there is winning. And yet it's kind of that way with life too, isn't it? Baseball is, all sports really are such a great analogy of what life is all about. And most of us humans can be really good at picking up, like you talked about, all the times you didn't catch the ball you should have caught and didn't hit the pitch that was that right. That one ball that if you'd hit that one, that would have made all the difference in the world. We'll focus on that and not think about the times that you made all the catches and you hit all the balls and everything that went the right way, right? And that's where teamwork comes in, is knowing that you've got a teammate or a family member that says, hey, it's all right. Tomorrow's a new day and tomorrow you'll go get them again, right? And so we have to have that kind of support system. And most importantly, we have to develop that kind of support for ourselves, right? Because there are times that there's nobody around. It's just us. And if we have developed the habit of beating ourselves up, it's a very lonely, awful place to be. And so if we have develop the habit of congratulating ourselves when we do well, to say, that's all right, we'll get it next time when we don't achieve the thing we want to achieve. Those painful moments when things aren't going the way we want to are minimized in duration and in intensity, right? So that's what we do on this show every single week, is help remind everybody that you have that spark of God in you. You have everything you need right within you to create the kind of life you want to create, right? And I enjoyed talking just before we started the show. I asked questions like I do with my oh gosh, names are blowing past me. Anyway, do you have a girlfriend? Are you driving the car yet? Or, and when I mentioned girlfriend, you said, no, I don't have time for that right now. Right. I'm focused on the direction I want to go in. Right. There'll be time for girls later. And that's true. But right now you're focused on being a good brother, a good son, a good grandson, good great grandson, right? And that's the right. Your mom said that's the right answer. Yes, absolutely. So, Richard, I want to thank you so much for being with us on the very first, when the first time you came on a couple of weeks ago before you left for this trip, and then coming back and sharing more about what that was about. You said you came in 13th in the nation, right? Of 83 teams or whatever it was, right?
Out of 86 teams.
Out of 86 teams. That is an incredible experience. And yes, he's a great kid, and we are so proud of the young man he is turning into.
Yes.
Absolutely true. And you have wonderful parents and grandparents who support you and help you to know that you're very special and that that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, right? And your grandma Cheryl's just been there for you every step of the way, and Nicole here, of course, has been with you, and I see you once in a while, right? But not as often as I would like, to be honest with you. But
one thing that the parents do say a lot, and I love this, is and it keeps them grounded. And my dogs are chiming in. Sorry.
Yes.
Is not too high, not too low.
Right.
Stay level.
Exactly.
And I love that. Right.
Yeah. Well, and success humbles us if we're doing it right, doesn't it? We're grateful for the things that we have and the kind of life we get to have. I share all the time that if we just look around a little bit, we'll get to see somebody that reminds us to be grateful for what we have, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, right? You see people that have less than us, and we, that should humble us and keep us in the right place, right? And that's important as we go along this journey, because we don't want to be full of ego, right? We want to be servants, right? And God's servants. Help him to we will help him do his work. Yes. So welcome. Thank you for being on the show tonight. You're welcome to stay on as long as you want, right? So I don't know how much do you know about Pride Month? Do you know what it's about?
I know what it's about. I just don't know too much about it.
Okay. So you know what it's about.
Right.
It's about people that how would you say it, Nicole? People who have different ideas of what love is for them, right? Different, they love maybe the same sex person as they are, right? And I think fortunately we're perhaps growing to understand that everybody deserves love. And whoever you decide to love is fine, as long as they treat you good. That's all we care about, right? And so, again, just as we do with everything else, it's about taking responsibility for being the right person. And then when you are the right person, whoever you're with is going to be a very fortunate person, right? So, for us, for me, for me, I don't care who somebody loves as long as they're happy, right? And I think everybody deserves to have that, right? Nobody should be ashamed of who they love or have to hide it, right? And so that's what, for me, National Pride Month is about. Would you want to say anything about it, Nicole?
I think you summed it up, and it's all inclusive, and my opinion's always not, warranted on certain topics, and certainly, I don't disclude anybody, right?
Right.
And so, the hate that comes along with it, I believe doesn't belong, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of hate included, and we see the protests, and it's okay to protest in what you believe in, but let's try to remember that the hate's not necessary. It's
right.
Do it in a way that's respectful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we're all a better country when we all can recognize the right of the next individual to live their life the way they want to. I don't want to try to tell somebody how to live their life, and I don't want them telling me how to do that either, right? I'm always open to some suggestions as long as it's positive. But how somebody wants to live their life is totally up to them. And I wish them I wish for everybody to have happiness and peace, right?
Yeah.
No matter what a person's political belief is or social belief or anything like that, I truly believe that every parent's wish is for their children to be happy and successful in whatever success means for them, right? And I think every parent wants that, regardless of whether they're Republican or Democrat or, Muslim or Catholic or, well, not the Catholic. But I was raised Catholic. Just for
not Catholic. Just kidding.
But yeah, everybody, everyone's got that spark in them, right? Regardless of what their beliefs are, and their beliefs are just as important as my beliefs are, and that's quite okay, right? So I don't want to get into Pride Month a whole lot, except for the fact that if whatever your belief is, whatever you want to have for your life, I'm all for it, right? Good for you, and just be happy, whatever it takes for you, right?
And be kind to others, right?
Yeah, be kind to others. It's like how we end our show, right? I use that at work all the time, right? I'll say to people, my daughter and I have this thing at the end of our show where we ask, what would you do if you see somebody without a smile, right? And, and so we'll be ending the show that way tonight as well, right? So another country heard from, right? So what else would you like to say about your baseball experience or your family experience or of anything that went on during your Cooperstown visit? Oh, I've got one for you. Cooperstown. you talked about the equipment and how different it was than what you use today. Can you describe some of the differences for people?
So first thing is, normally we could cheer for our batter to hit the ball, get him pumped. We couldn't do that. We had to be
Really?
silent the whole time.
Oh.
Wow.
Only the parents could cheer.
And do you know why they did that?
I personally don't know, but I know like some other players do, or the coaches.
Did anyway, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's what you're used to doing. It's kind of hard to say, okay, don't breathe anymore, right?
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, right. Now, we were talking about the equipment that you saw in Cooperstown.
So we were facing this team, and they're using a bat called Green Zen. It's banned in like 30 different states,
Wow.
but in Cooperstown, you're able to use it.
You were able to use it in Cooperstown.
Huh?
You said
Can
you
you
were
repeat
able to use that bat, or they were able to use it?
Yeah.
I was meaning more about the museum itself, the Cooperstown, what's the word, is it?
The Baseball Hall of Fame.
Huh?
The Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame. You saw equipment in there that was quite different than what you're used to using, right? So
Yeah.
what can you describe some like the gloves or the hats or the outfits or
So with the glove, all it did was just block the fingers. There wasn't like a web right here. So if you
right?
caught it like this and you missed it, it would just go straight through and it could hit you in the face.
Oh wow.
So you had to catch it like with your palm.
So they had really probably calloused hands, I would think, right? Because you'd have to get that skin tough to be able to handle that fastball coming in. Do you know how fast they threw back in those days?
Around there, it was probably around low 80s,
Yeah. Yeah.
which in this time of day, that's nowhere near what the
No.
average is.
No. You wouldn't be playing professional ball, that's for sure, if you're throwing in the 80s, right?
So for
You
the
would
people
have to
that
have
don't
perfect-
know, what is the average pitch?
The
Speed?
average fastball is around 94,
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
around 92 to 94.
Yeah. And we've got about 3 guys now on the Dodgers that throw in the hundreds.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? 100 miles an hour, and guys hit it. It's like what they have to do is get an idea where they think it's going to go, and they actually start their swing before the pitcher throws the ball.
It's crazy. To put it into perspective, around 95, it's quicker from the mound to home than it is just to blink.
Yeah. So you
And
had
people
to
get
really
hit by
the game
that
at that
too.
point. If you get a good hit on it, it was just luck.
And people get hit
Yeah.
by it, Paul.
Yeah. And you don't know if he's going to throw a fastball, a curveball, a slider, what he's going to throw or where it's going to go. You're just kind of poking and hoping, I guess, right? But 100 miles an hour, unless you've done that for your whole career, you're not even going to see it until it's already in the catcher's hand, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Don't blink.
That's why these guys make the big money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what
That's
about
what just-
bats? What were the bats like that they used back in the olden days?
Bats were smaller
Right?
because also there would be times where they would just lob it in and the batter could choose where he wanted the ball to be.
The batter could determine where he wanted it to be? Really? Wow.
Yeah.
And they were lighter. They were probably smaller too, right? They weren't as long because your baseball players weren't that tall back then. I mean, 6 foot was probably a pretty tall guy. Nowadays, they're almost 7 foot tall, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. So the game has gone through a lot of change. So you were telling me before we started that you've got a couple of weeks off or just doing some, practicing at wherever it is you go to practice. And then you're going to start another tournament in San Diego in a couple of weeks, right?
Right. It's called World Series.
World Series. Wow. And how many teams are going to be participating in that?
I don't know the exact number, but I know it's going to be a lot less than 86.
Well, yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah, I would hope
But you
to.
never know, right? I mean, it's all, local cities and towns and
There's a lot of cities in San Diego.
yeah, yeah. So is this a regional thing like South Coast, what's the word I'm looking for? Southern California group or San Diego area or what is it?
Other teams like South America, they could come and play too.
Wow. Boy, they really have organized this into a big thing, haven't they?
Yeah.
And maybe you'll get to stay at your Nana's house while you're playing.
Maybe.
Just saying.
Well, the invitation's there, right?
Always. They know that.
Nice. So, and this is another comment from Melly that the families were able to watch it live and everyone can hear me because I was so loud.
Very
Well,
true.
that's the whole idea, Mom, right? Is to let him know you're there and that you got his back, right?
I'm surprised they didn't hear me from California.
Yeah, they probably did.
Probably.
Well, I think that's very special. As I've mentioned before, God gave me nothing, right? I have no athletic ability whatsoever. I can't hit a bat, I can't hit a ball very well. I can't shoot baskets very well. I can't run. I can't dance. I can't swim. God gave me nothing, right? So when I played baseball, I played for an entire season and never played a single out in the game. Not one. But I went every single day to practice. I never missed one. Right?
That's nice.
Yeah. And nowadays, the coaches can't do that. They have to play players, I believe, don't they?
In travel ball, they don't.
Oh.
Travel ball. Well, that's a whole different. That's you're almost like semi-professional, right? You just don't get paid, but you travel all over the place. But this was just basic little league in my day, right? We used to use stones for balls.
I was gonna say that. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. So I'm really I admire the talent that you have and the stick-to-itiveness, and that's something that I have in common with you is that I'm going to do it no matter what. The fact that they didn't put me in the game, I committed to being there, and by God, I'm going to be there, right? And I'm going to give it my best, even though my best wasn't very good, right? So I'm glad you got your talent from your other family because it didn't come from mine. That's for sure.
Oh.
All right. What else? Is there another memory that you can think of you'll always have for yourself that meant so much about this whole trip?
Seeing the different teams and also hearing different languages too. Because there's some kids that are from the Dominican Republic.
Which of course is a big baseball farm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the Dominican Republic, they love baseball, right?
Yeah.
Well, how about the dorms? What were the dorms like?
Yeah.
The dorms, it was packed a lot of the times because it's super small.
Were they bunk beds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was 8 bunks.
Wow.
There's 8 bunk beds.
And who did the cooking?
The staff.
So they had a staff and so you would have a kitchen area that you would go to eat in, or a mess room, or what?
The food wasn't too good though, but
no.
No.
I was trying to go there, but I didn't want to bring a negative.
Was it like a buffet where you just go down the line and fill up a tray of food, or what?
It was kind of like that, yeah.
Kind of like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I heard there was some trading of outside food going on, huh?
There's a time where we were trading McGriddles for pins. One of my teammates traded their hat
for pins.
Well, that's kind of the way the minor leagues are too in baseball, right? Is you live in somebody else's home, you don't make much money, so you can't do a whole lot of things, right? And it's really a rough lifestyle until you get to the bigs, right? But and so many people just don't make it. It's amazing. But the thing that I want to encourage you on the most, Richard, is that you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have your head right, it won't work. Right? So the mental part of the game is an extremely important part. That indefatigable determination that you're going to succeed, no matter how many times you strike out. Next time I'm going to get a hit, right? Is developing that muscle, that mental muscle that propels you to success. Because that same muscle can propel you to failure if you haven't trained it the right way. And we talk on our show quite often about the fact that not many of us were ever taught that we could train our minds, that we could actually make our mind think the way we wanted to think. Not only can we, but we have to if we're going to have any kind of success in life, right? Because if your mind is constantly telling you you're a loser and you idiot, you didn't get that ball, you knew you should have hit it, why didn't I hit it? And before you know it, you've convinced yourself you're a loser, right?
So Mama asked, how did you prepare mentally for the tournament?
Yeah, you were starting, your mom asked that, right?
Yeah.
How did you prepare mentally for the tournament?
I was preparing mentally first with someone who is an expert at it.
Is that a coach, a mental coach?
Yeah.
Good.
We were talking about like the mental side of it, and I was telling her about like not being with my family as much, being prepared for that, and also being prepared just for the baseball itself.
Right.
And telling myself that and tell myself like no matter what, if I'm out, if I'm safe, don't get too high or don't get too low.
Right. Yeah. It's such an important part of the game. And so awesome that at your age now, you already have a coach that helps you with the mental side of the game, right? That is so important, and I'm so glad to hear that they provide that for you. Now, is that person someone they hire to work with your team, or is it a volunteer that comes in and works with everybody, a family member, or?
It's someone that my parents hired like just for me.
Okay. Very good. And that I'm assuming that came from your father's athletic background. He understood the need to have that. Would that be right? Okay. Yeah. Because I know it didn't come from your mother's side.
I knew that was coming. I bet Melly did too.
Well,
laughing, I hear.
Well, it's such a great example of what you are. Such a great example. Your whole tournament that you've just gone on, everything that the journey that you've gone on so far, Richard, is so much about what we talk about every week, right? Is getting our heads right, because most of us don't have it right. Fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, Papa. Absolutely. That's where I'm talking about. Athletic skill on this side of the family, I can tell you for sure. But so you are an example of what we're talking about. That you've got to, we can read all the books in the world, we can practice all day long and do all of those kinds of things, but if we don't have the head right, it's a rough journey, right? So, life is tough enough. There's enough ups and downs that happen in the course of the day, of the week, of the month, of the year. And if you don't have that mental strength of this too will pass, I'll get through it, I'm going to be all right, everything's going to be good, this is just a moment, right? It's just a moment in thousands of moments of the day. Then when we train ourselves that way, we get past those rough spots so much quicker and so much easier. And that's what we want to present here on the Positive Power Hour, is the reminder for everybody that you're going to be all right, right? And you have a support system. We're going to be expanding the support that we bring to everybody very soon here, and we're going to make this thing grow, because my goal is to help as many people as we can to live the kind of life that they really sometimes only thought about, right? But didn't have the courage to actually try to make it happen for themselves, right? That's one of the things I'm so proud of your grandmother for, is that she went on her own journey and went through that discovery that she needs to be, good to herself and kind to herself, and work on that mental muscle that we're talking about, right? And let's see, what do we got here? Don't let the fear of I think you mean striking out, keep you from playing the game. Absolutely right. And that's what most of us do, is we fail once and we go, that's it, I failed, I can't do it, right? And like when you go to lose weight and you struggle really hard not to eat the bad food for a month, and then all of a sudden you have a bad day and you eat a gallon of ice cream. You say, well, that's it, I've blown the whole thing, I'll just quit, right? But that's not the mental process we're talking about. Mental process is, okay, tomorrow I'm going to get back on doing the right thing. I'm going to give myself permission to have a bad day and move forward, right? It's being kinder and gentler and yet firmer to ourselves, right? Learning to be our own best friend, our own strength coach, if you will, right? The ability to remind ourselves to tighten it up, get it a little better without being mean to ourselves, right? Self-discipline in a positive way. And the more we practice that, the better life gets to be. All right. So we're going to wrap it up tonight with a question I'm going to ask Richard.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Richard, if you see somebody out on your day tomorrow, and here's somebody, Kimberlyn, saying, I'm so proud of you, Richard.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you see somebody tomorrow who doesn't have a smile, what would you do?
Give them one of mine.
And why would you do that?
Because they're free.
Yay! See, we're getting one trained now, right? And they make you feel good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it helps make the other person feel good, doesn't it? Yeah. Such a simple little thing can change somebody's entire life. I know that sounds grandiose, but you don't know, right? You don't know that you might be smiling at somebody who's just been thinking about ending it all, right? Mm-hmm. And you smiling at them can let them know that somebody sees them and somebody cares. And let's face it, when you walk up to somebody who's smiling, doesn't it make you feel good? Yeah. Yes, of course it does. So your homework assignment, everybody in the audience, is if you see somebody that doesn't have a smile, give them one of yours. They're free. And they're going to make people feel good, right?
That's right.
And if you don't love yourself,
thank you so much, Richard, for being here.
Huh?
I thanked Richard for being here.
Yeah, Richard. And if you don't love yourself right now, that's okay. We'll love you until you can love yourself. All right? So for my Positive Power Hour family, for our wonderful guest host tonight, Richard, I want to thank you for being with us tonight. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight, and have a wonderful, positive week, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.